You know that sound? It means the restaurant brokers are back on the air with Restaurant Reality. We've spent most of today's show talking with folks who have had tremendous success stories and have gained national prominence. And now we're going to talk about the reality of starting up that restaurant. Eric, do you have some words of wisdom for us?
Yeah, and let's thank Drew and Corey from Tom and Chief for the first two segments, as well as Rob from Mod Market. Phenomenal information. If you are a current operator or if you are looking to be getting into the business, you need to go back. If you missed the first two segments, there was so much good information, real current and real live information and experience from these guys. But now part of restaurant reality. To be a great restaurateur, it's a combination of luck and planning. I mean, primarily to reach a level that translates to one of these hot concepts like we heard today, they have to be on point with execution. And there's a million little things that has to be put together in order to achieve this nucleus of success. I mean, a couple of them together are powerful, two or three of them, but if you put all of them together, it's very strong. The devil's in the details of that. Robin, can you tell us a bit more about
Well, as I listen to some of these guys start on a shoestring, that's amazing to me because now they're at these high volume levels when that means they have to have these systems that can handle explosion. There have been a lot of restaurants who actually, the reality is you start, you get national attention, you get national growth, and then boom, the next day you're out of business, and that's the reality. Do you remember one from 2008 that went down?
Yeah, unfortunately, let's give you the answer first. They went bankrupt, but Bennigan's, if you remember Bennigan's in the 80s and 90s, I mean, it was a hot concept. I mean, there was a pile of people in there, very, very good, but they could not handle that rapid pace to the point not only they shut down the units, they end up in bankruptcy. They are trying to rebrand now, but once you're on the top, try to go back to the top, very, very difficult. They're very humble goals right now. Try to regroup and rebrand because the brands still have a lot of positive energy, but overall, I mean, you're right. I mean, they have failed. They were not able to handle the logistics that came and the operational challenges that came. Getting the same food from California to Florida is not easy.
And I have a golden oldie I want to talk about too. I mean, I don't know who would remember this one, but Minnie Pearl Chicken. There's this persona in the Grand Ole Opry of a comedian named Minnie Pearl, and they created a rival concept to KFC around her brand name. They opened 567 restaurants, and I know you've never heard of them. They sold 2,700 franchises in the late 1960s, but unfortunately, in their rush to expand, they forgot to control the single most important thing, which is the chicken recipe. So every single franchisee's chicken sounded different, and by 1968, they were gone. And from 2,700 franchises to something you and I don't even remember in our lifetimes.
Robin, that's an interesting story. I wonder if the Colonel Sanders may have stolen that recipe.
I hope not. But I think what Colonel Sanders did was make sure his recipe was a closely guarded secret, and he replicated that in every single store. So that chicken tasted the same. In the flip side of that coin, talk about somebody like Chipotle. They're the poster child of rising to national prominence in a very short time frame, but they had all the systems in place to operate.
They did. They actually had, one thing is people don't realize Chipotle was owned by McDonald's until a few years ago. And that was a McDonald's concept. So McDonald's, who's better than McDonald's to supply chain and having a coast to coast? I mean, if you eat a Big Mac in California and Florida, you'll have the same taste. I mean, you eat a Big Mac in Paris, you're still going to achieve the same taste. They are the pioneer of actually staying on top, and they've been on top of the mountain for almost 39 years. So they had a very good, parent company to foster them into that prominence. And now that they're spun out on their own, they're doing an excellent job, growing very rapidly. But they had, like you said, Robin, all the things in place: the customer experience, staffing, the labor model, all the food, the consistency. I mean, you go to Chipotle anywhere, you are getting the same product.
And it's not just on the customer service and experience side, it's also on the financial side. Because one thing that successful concepts all have in common is that they can get their food costs under control and maintain them there. They document, they have policies and procedures, they have a systemic approach to delivering the same thing. And another option that many of them reach out and take care of with a food service provider like a U.S. Food or Cisco is they actually say, here's my recipe. Now I want you to duplicate this in your kitchens, rebottle it, and you send it out to my franchisees so that, for example, the salsa tastes the same in Denver as it does in Des Moines, and so they keep that consistency. So number one thing with a franchise is you want the same experience every single time. Some other items that you have to control.
Yeah, and you heard both of our guys, to your point, Robin, that talk about Mod Market says, hey, we're still looking for the perfect nucleus and ingredients for the formula. So they're not even franchising or anything until they can find, a more same thing. Tom and Chi actually had one store for over a full year, and then opened a second store under their belt. And over 7,000 inquiries. They only have 2 people so far that are going through the process, so they are very taking their time. And one thing that is important about that is documentation, Rob. I mean, people have everything in their head in a restaurant, but you need to put everything in paper if you want to grow and share with others, because you cannot take your brain and just implant it in someone else's head. So you need to make sure that you document everything, from as simple as, I put the spoon to the left side of the bowl. That makes it special. If that's the case, you need to write this down from day one. Then when you're ready to have this gigantic expansion, you have everything in writing to share with others while you're not there.
And their model has to be scalable from a labor standpoint, from a food cost standpoint. And something that's really critical and close to our hearts is picking the right locations. That's critical. And if you don't know how to do it, you need to bring a restaurant broker on board who knows your concept in the areas. And I would say also be flexible, because we have dealt with franchisees as brokers who say, okay, my first store was tremendously successful. It was a 4,000 square foot freestanding building, so that's where we have to be going forward. Is that true, Eric?
Yes, absolutely. And true story to your point, Robin, about that happened to me yesterday, was that client called, needed our help as a restaurant broker. He has been working with a commercial realtor, a general commercial realtor, for over a year and a half, and come up empty with locations. And in a 1 hour discussion with him, we identify about 7 potential locations, geographic areas, and he was so wowed by our knowledge. So don't just get a realtor, get, like Robin said, a restaurant broker that knows your area, knows what we have. Speaking of that, Robin, what do we have some sites probably that people may be interested in just to lease to get your concept started to national stardom.
We are taking the lead on a culinary arts market that's being established in the neighborhood of Castleberry Hill, which is going to be phenomenal. There are several of these across the country and across the world, and the landlord is on board, and there's some fabulous plans that have been put on the drawing board by Gensler, a world premier architect. And if someone would want to go to our website and take a look at that, there is 15,000 square feet to take over a major master tenant in the location, and then sublease vignettes where different types of cuisine would happen.
Castleberry Hill is downtown Atlanta, for those of you who are not sure. Castleberry Hill is in downtown Atlanta, nearby the CNN Center, the Georgia Dome, and Phillips Arena. So this is a great location. What else, Robin, can people do to look at some more stuff?
Well, come on to our website at WeSellRestaurants.com. We have over 50 different restaurant lease spaces available. You can find things for lease in the teens, all the way up to things in the $30, $40 per square foot. But the bottom line is, if you're in the market for buying or selling a restaurant or leasing a restaurant, you need to work with the restaurant brokers at We Sell Restaurants. Listen to our show each week on this station, or join us on our podcast on iTunes.